So the Divine Comedy is the most influential work of literature in European history. Why? Because Dante's comedy will give rise to the Protestant Reformation, as well as the Scientific Revolution, the Enlightenment, Renaissance, basically modernity itself. Okay? So the question is, how did Dante accomplish this? He accomplished this basically by responding to Virgil. Okay? So for the longest time, for about 1,000 years, Virgil was the most dominant thinker in European history. And Virgil's Aeneid, which we read, becomes the basis for Augustine. He wrote two major books, Confessions and City of God. And this will become the basis of the Catholic Church. All right? So how did Virgil come to become the soul of the Catholic Church? He came up with the idea of human nature, okay? So Augustine will emphasize the idea of original sin. Okay, so the original sin was an act of disobedience when Adam and Eve ate from the tree of the fruit, the tree of knowledge, okay? They ate the fruit from the tree of knowledge. And that's an act of disobedience because God explicitly said, you can do whatever you want in this Garden of Eden, but don't eat that fruit. And they disobeyed God. And Augustine points out that what compelled this original sin is pride. We humans cannot bear to serve God, to be humble before God. We seek to overthrow God. And so God had no choice but to punish us. Okay? So what drives this original sin? What drives this original sin is that, yes, it is true that God, He breathed life into us, okay? He breathed life into us so that our soul is the divine spark. That is true. The problem, though, is that our bodies are made from dust. Okay? Dust. And as a result, because we are dust, we strive for dirty things, such as lust, pride, gluttony, sloth. They're the 7 deadly sins. Okay? And we can't help ourselves. And the only way to repair the world, the only way for us to seek salvation and redemption, the only path to heaven is obedience. Okay? What Virgil will call piety. And so, as long as we are loyal to the Catholic Church, we'll be fine. The Catholic Church will guide us like a shepherd guides his flock to heaven. But what's really important to understand is that our nature is dirty. We are sinful by nature, and therefore we can't trust our own intuition. Okay? And this becomes a framework for medieval Europe, which lasts about 1,000 years. And this is what led to something called the Dark Ages, when basically the entire world surpassed Europe in terms of innovation, wealth, and intellectual creativity. So what Dante is going to do is he's going to assert the power and the truth of individual intuition. Okay? So the major argument that Dante is going to make is that, yes, it is true that we are made of dust. It is true that with bodies, we seek pleasures. But that divine spark in us, it never went away. And much more importantly, that divine spark still connects us to God. Okay? So as long as we're able to activate this divine spark, we can be imaginative. We can seek truth for ourselves. We don't need the Catholic Church. All right? So Dante, what he's doing is he's asserting the primacy of love. We don't need to obey others. We don't need the church, because love, if we just activate the love within us, this will connect us back to God. And this connection will drive our imagination, which will make us creative. And creativity is the ultimate purpose of the universe. Okay? So what I will do in this two-part lecture series is, in the first part, look at Virgil, what the argument he's making, okay? And then on Wednesday, I will conclude with Dante. All right? So any questions so far about this framework? Okay. So again, the argument, the debate, it's very simple. Is human nature fundamentally good or bad? Okay, if you think it's bad, then you need to create a hierarchy to control human behavior. But if like Dante, you're optimistic, then you don't need to control human behavior. In fact, you want to encourage individual intuition as much as possible. Okay? So that's a fundamental debate. All right.